Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another episode of In Case You Missed It. Hope you're doing well on this Sunday and I've had a good week. But today we're going to be talking about Andre Onana once again and his link to Chelsea in a summer transfer, and also looking back at Maurizio Sarri's time at Chelsea with some recent quotes from the Italian. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, as I do every day, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit that like button because it helps out the videos as well. But as I was saying, Andre Onana, I talked about him on Thursday's video, Let's Talk Chelsea, him being linked by L'Equipe in France, of him coming to Chelsea in the summer for about a 30 million fee, and the Telegraph now, a more reliable source, have backed that up. Mike McGrath reporting that Ajax have put a 35 million asking price on Chelsea target Onana. Onana, who is considering all options including running down his contract with the Dutch champions, the 24-year-old has been monitored by Premier League clubs including Chelsea, and also has admirers at PSG and Barcelona, where he played during his youth career before moving to the Netherlands. Ajax want between 35 and 40 million for the Cameroon keeper amid uncertainty over whether clubs will be able to spend heavily following the suspension of football for the pandemic. I spoke about on Thursday how I feel Onana would be a really good option and a really good buy for Chelsea. If Willy Caballero is to leave at the end of his contract, which I think a lot of us expect him probably to do, and Chelsea want to strengthen and mostly give competition to Kepa, because I've stated several times I don't feel Chelsea are going to sell Kepa. So you're sort of looking to bolster that area, strengthen that area, and give, Kepa more competition, and I think that's what Lampard will want to do. If Lampard is unsure about this, the club aren't willing to sell Kepa, there aren't any willing buyers for that amount of fee, especially with the pandemic. Can we get someone who could potentially replace Kepa and then, really challenge him? And I've said this before, I think this is a win-win situation for Chelsea if Onana was to come in and do really well, or, really gives Kepa the kick up the backside that he needs. Other than Onana, there was a name that I read yesterday from Simon Phillips. I've got to give credit to Simon Phillips on Twitter, who hopefully I'll have on the channel soon to discuss some transfers. He brought up the name of Ben Foster from Watford, who I think would be a really good shout, probably a more realistic one if Chelsea aren't looking to spend that much on a backup keeper to replace Caballero. I think Ben Foster would be brilliant. I really do. I think it depends on what he wants in this time of his career. He was at Man United at one point and he's going to be first choice at Watford. Watch the performance he gave against us in November. Truly stunning performance, stunning saves that night. He comes across as such a great guy. I think look at the experience, the maturity. I think he'd be a good voice to have in the dressing room. Maybe he'd want, at the back end of his career to come to a team like Chelsea, potentially win a piece of silverware, get a medal, and I think would be a good voice in the dressing room to have. Whether he'd want to move to Watford where he's got guaranteed football, not really sure. I don't think it's exactly the same case as maybe a Rob Green, who is really coming to the end of his career and then, of course, retired. But I think Foster would be a good shout, so I'd give it to Simon Phillips on that one, and I would be more than happy to see him come in at Chelsea. But Onana, I think if Chelsea are really serious, I think this is probably the best you're going to get at the moment. I think when we talk about Donnarumma and keepers like that, I think Kepa would have to be sold for a keeper like that to come in. I truly do, and I think Onana would have no problem competing with Kepa, getting those minutes, coming to the Premier League, and potentially breaking into Chelsea's first team. So please let me know. This is, as I say, a more reliable source than the other day, so maybe this thing could be gaining momentum. As I say, it's only setting a price on Onana. We haven't heard maybe extensive talks going on to see how serious Chelsea are, but we're going to have to wait and see. But please let me know, as I said the other day, please let me know on Onana. Do you think he'd be a good keeper, or do you think maybe a player like Ben Foster would be a better signing this summer for Chelsea? And also I want to talk about Maurizio Sarri, because some quotes came out from Sarri the other day when he was talking about his time at Chelsea and his ending at Chelsea. Let's go through his quotes and then I'll give you sort of my thoughts. He said, "The higher the level, the more difficult it is to build a relationship with the players. It's not the players who change, but the surroundings. You need more time, but you still manage. I had a conflicting relationship with the Chelsea locker room during the first 5 to 6 months, but then when I left after the Europa League final, I cried, and also a lot of the guys did." I felt when I read this, I thought it was a really endearing quote. I think it was, and it was nice to see that there was that, in the end, emotional connection between Maurizio Sarri and his players, even if it was a short period. And of course, these quotes have sparked a lot of debate online, of course, because Maurizio Sarri, I think, will go down as one of the most infamous managers, or at least his tenure will go down as one of the most infamous, in my opinion, especially in the modern era, of what it brought, the conflict it brought, the toxicity it brought out in fans. I've said on this channel before, I think I've always been very, I think, fair to Sarri. I thought, I was very supportive of his time at Chelsea. I thought what he was trying to do at Chelsea in terms of style of football and philosophy was something I was really getting behind. It was just a shame the way it ended. And in a lot of ways, now we look back almost a year when he was at the club, I think it was the right decision. I think it was the right time for him to move on. He didn't get sacked. I've seen some people try and spin it that he got sacked. He left on his own accord, going back to Juventus, and I think maybe Chelsea would have given him the time if he decided to stay. But I just find the toxicity and the anger towards Sarri still so baffling to me. I mean, I don't want to sort of uncover old wounds and stop this whole big debate where people are going at each other. We really don't need that at the moment. I just find, and I tweeted this yesterday, that I find sort of the personal hatred towards Sarri for some really baffling. Considering what he did at Chelsea, winning the Europa League, getting us back in the Champions League, which was big for this season, and Frank Lampard. And as Mark Worrell, an author for Chelsea, who I think you should definitely go and follow, read his work, said, he was talking about all the Chelsea managers and listing them. If it wasn't for that manager, the domino effect that these managers have in the history of Chelsea. And Sarri will be a part of that. And the good thing for Sarri is, as I said, when he left and as I wrote when he left on his own terms, and I think in the long term, I think most Chelsea fans will look back and go, even if you didn't agree with his style of football, even if there were parts you didn't like about his tenure, I think you can appreciate what he did at Chelsea in some difficult circumstances. And as I was talking about with my video with Nini yesterday, that you can go and check out, we talked about Sarri and talked about how the culture change and understanding, what Chelsea need to do now of really backing a manager like Frank Lampard, backing a manager's vision, maybe understanding who you're getting in as a manager before you actually recruit them. But I think that all the things that went on with Sarri, I think you could write a book about that season, which Dean Mears has, which I suggest, Cult Fiction, which was sort of a brilliant sort of take on the season, a reflection on the season and everything that went on. If you want to read that book, because I think it is worth it. But I think that Sarri, I think, will always have fond memories with me. I think he will be regarded personally for me as someone who I think is going to be very important as we look back in the history of Chelsea, as maybe changing the style of football, bringing in players like Kovacic and Jorginho, seeing us sort of moving in a new direction. He gave a start to Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Callum Hudson-ODOI. And when people try to have a go at Sarri for youth players and bringing in youth players, sure, he hasn't done what Frank Lampard has done, but you have to balance it out with all the managers previous to Maurizio Sarri. Seeing Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Callum Hudson-ODOI start at Anfield was something none of us would have seen. The impact Sarri had on Loftus-Cheek's career, I think hopefully in years to come will be reflected on positively. So please let me know your opinions on Sarri, his time at Chelsea, your feelings on the quotes, because they are quite enlightening to see how his relationship changed and evolved and got better with Chelsea players. Please let me know in the comments below. But that is it for this episode of In Case You Missed It. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.